Before we look at the figure, I have an important announcement that you all must know about. Several people have informed me that the design here on Jules' shirt, that one right there, rubs off extremely, very easily. The shirt is made from a soft rubber and it does not hold the ink very well. If you want the design to stay on, then don't touch the shirt as you remove her from the box or when you pose her. Pretty much don't ever touch the front of the shirt. Anyway, let's get on with the figure review. Hey everyone, MacDowin here. Today we are taking a look at Jules from Hasbro's new Fortnite Victory Royale 6-inch series. I originally ordered this from Amazon for $41.99, but ended up getting it from Akari instead for about $34. If you'd like to own your own, then I have a link for you in the pinned comment below. Over here on the left side, it shows some of the accessories included, but if we flip around to the back of the box, you'll see those. You'll see a rendering of Jules and what Ohm looks like in a more put together, spread out image. I'm going to flip this thing back around. I won't show you the barcode because this is an Amazon exclusive, and because of that, you'll notice there is no window for the action figure. Alright, let's get this figure out of the box. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please subscribe so you'll be notified of future videos. If you want to help the channel out and you play Fortnite, please feel free to add my creator code to your Epic account. It's MacDowin. Jules is an epic skin and is part of the Intrepid Engine set. Released in Chapter 2 Season 3, this skin was part of the Battle Pass at Tier 40. This is the default version of this skin. Engineering perfection with a mysterious twist. As far as accessories are concerned, she comes with the Wrencher's harvesting tools. It's two small little wrenches. And these are nice and shiny. Got some orange and brown, but they're really nice and shiny. They're, unfortunately, as you can see, just a little bit bendy, but maybe a soak in hot water will help straighten these out. We also get the Ohm's Perch back bling, and we even get an Ohm to sit on there. And it's just a little difficult to get the owl on there. You're going to have to tuck the wings in, kind of work that in just a little bit, like so, and eventually you can get it in. Then its feet will sit right there on that belt. Otherwise, it's really loose on there. But it will sit. Ohm will perch quite well, but it is a little bit loose. And while we're looking here at Ohm does have a rotation at the neck and a hinge at the wings and a rotation there. And I can't figure out if the feet have any kind of an articulation or not. I'm a little nervous about twisting them because I don't want to break them off. So I'm not sure if that has any, but it's pretty cool. You can take Ohm off anytime you want to. Now, this is a pretty heavy backpack, so when you put it on Jules, she's going to want to fall backwards, so you'll need to compensate in your balancing, or just get a figure stand for her. We get the big lug harvesting tool. Well, at least we get it in two parts. This is the first part. The base rotates around. Nothing else moves. This little portion does not wiggle, or it doesn't move back and forth. It's not on any kind of a hinge. At least mine isn't. Then you get the second part, which will slide in here. Well, I say slide, but with a good little push. Then you've got the official full-on big lug harvesting tool that she can hold. Then this will also convert into a glider, which we'll get to next, with Ohm right there sitting on the top of big lug. And you can slide that in. And that's the beginning portion of the glider. Sorry if this gets out of focus a little bit. And then you also have a couple wings that plug right in. We'll get to putting Ohm together in just a bit. But yeah, you can see that they hook right in there. And for the final accessory, we get a welder's mask. We flip it around, you can see it'll fit right there on her head. Now, this will not convert this figure from default into the welding style because she's still missing the overalls that cover the top portion of her body. So, but you still get a welder's mask, and that's kind of cool. And I was mistaken, these are the final two accessories. These are figure stand attachments. This little round circular thing hooks on this portion right here that looks like it's going to snap in place, because it will. And so you can snap that on if you want to or need to. I'm not sure. I'm guessing they are separate because you might not always need to have this on. Maybe it's an adapter of some sort. This will attach to the Ohm owl, and I'll show you that in just a bit. Jules is about 6 inches tall and looks about this height next to some other of the Hasbro Fortnite action figures. Just line a few up here and you can see where she's at on that scale. She's about the same height here as Sky and Lynx, but shorter than Ripley and Midas Rex. And here's what she looks like standing next to a couple of Jazzwares Fortnite Legendary Series figures. We got Havoc on the left, Ghoul Trooper on the right, and as you can see, she lines up just about perfect, and she'll scale just great with the Jazzwares figures. She has about 25 points of articulation, is roughly what I've counted up, and we'll take a look at the articulation now, and I'll just be straight up. I'm going to be very careful about touching the shirt because I don't want this logo to rub off, so if I look kind of awkward in how I'm holding and trying to articulate, that's why. So we'll start here at the head, and unfortunately the head does not have a neck articulation down here. It's only a ball joint, so the head rotates around, and she looks down, well, about that far, and looks up, unfortunately, about that far. She can't go any further unless you move the entire torso around, which, if you want her to move her torso, she's on a bit of a ball joint in there, so leaning forward is about like that. Leaning back is about like that. And she does wiggle from side to side about there. So she's got some good rotation and movement here in the upper torso area. Her waist will rotate. Mine's kind of tight, so you have to really grab her in that middle. Her arms rotate all the way around. They can hinge up about this far. We'll bring them back down. And she's got a single pinless, can you call that pinless? Pretty sure you can, hinge at the elbow so she can bring her arms up about that far. We'll get her standing up a little bit more straight there, about that far, which isn't bad, but it's not what we've gotten used to with the Hasbro figures. That's actually really pretty good for if you're wanting to pose her. She's got a rotation at the wrist and a hinge at the wrist, which is really pretty good. Then we get down to her legs. If you want her to do the splits, she can do that, and then her tool belt does something a little weird. It shoves up into the middle section. That's because the tool belt is harder plastic than I would expect. And so, yeah, that's kind of weird and interesting that that's what they did. If you want her to sit, she could sit like that. If she's going to jump out of a bus, being very careful, she can bend her legs back about that far. The arms are not supposed to really be doing that, but anyway. Got thigh rotations. You can rotate at the thigh. Double pinless knee right there. So she can, if you're careful, maybe that's about as far back as she can go. At least that seems to be about as far back as I can get this one. It's kind of interesting. Usually you can go further with double pinless. Let's try the other one. Yeah, that's about as far as it goes. There's just enough leg pieces here that they bump up into each other. Then a rotation at the boot there. And then finally, there is a pivot and a hinge at the toe. It goes up about that far. It goes down pretty well about that far. So this figure has a bit of a hard time standing, and I'm not really sure why that is, but yeah, she does. She has a bit of a hard time well, okay, then of course she'll stand right there when I say she's having a hard time standing. But there's no accessories on her. When you get the backpack on her, like that, maybe. See, she has a bit of a hard time standing because the backpack is fairly heavy. You can lean her forward, you can get her balanced, but if you want to see what she looks like sideways, well, that's actually not nearly as bad as I thought. It actually looks better than I was thinking. I hadn't looked at it from the sideways, just from this, and it felt like I was leaning her really far forward. So, you know, that's actually not horrible. As you put other things, maybe like take this off, but plug in the lug nut on her hands, which is also pretty loose here, just to make you aware. Get the lug nut here. I have to lay figures down a lot of times. Rotate her hand around. Open it up. Slide it in like that. And then the other side becomes undone. There we go. So you put that on and yeah, she can stand pretty good there. She's leaning a little, as you can see, just a little bit far forward. So, but to get her to pose in some interesting dynamic way, like with her legs, yeah, you're going to have some difficulty there because it's a fine balancing act. And I'm not the best balancer in the world, but especially on, well, there we go. Apparently I've gotten better, but we'll see what she looks like sideways. So her right leg foot over here kind of looks weird, I guess, the way it is. But yeah, you can get her balanced. It's just going to be a little bit more. You're going to be working a little bit harder to get this figure to stand probably than some of the others. Some of the others seem to stand really well. And she won't stand super normal with that stuff on. I'll get this off. Anyway, that's the figure, and I could keep talking about her, but let's move on to Ohm and the glider and all of that. Here we have Ohm resting on part of the lug nut, a swappable part that slides out of here. Try to do that with one hand. Then slides in to begin the formation of Jules' glider. We'll take this back off. Wanted to show it to you. Anyway, we have a couple wings that will attach, and I'm actually not sure. It doesn't really matter. It's rotatable. The head rotates. There is no real up and down. I think it might be on a ball joint, but mostly it goes back and forth. So we're going to hook these things on. It's just going to take a lot of pressure to push these things straight in. So if they actually get that far in, we'll see if that works. I'll rotate this around because I push much better with my right hand, the dominant hand. Dominant arm. Looks like this is going to snap in maybe easier. There we go. And so yeah, a little bit of pressure needed to be applied, but it ended up working and not doing too bad there. Make sure we're still in focus. And then the arms, or the wings, not the arms, but you could do some really cool poses. You can move these up and down. Now, full disclosure, I did heat these joints up, the hinges on the wings, in hot water before I attached them because they felt tight. You can go down like this, you can go forward, you can rotate these around, you could do anything you want to with these, and this is really cool. I don't think these are going to come back. Oh, well, that one popped off. So I don't know how easy they will pop back off, but that's about where it is. We'll attach it to the lower portion of the lug nut, and then I'll take this back a little bit further, and then you can see, well, for the most part, the entire glider that she can hold on to. Now, we've got this glider. I'll set this down for a moment. We got these extra pieces that will attach to a figure stand. I think the figure stand is still upcoming. I believe it's the same figure stand that the gliders will be coming with early next year. If you turn Ohm around, we'll take this off. Turn Ohm around and lift the tail. Make sure, as always, this is staying in focus. We'll come real close. There we go. So, tuck the wings up. Anyway, you flip up the tail. You don't see, because it's difficult. Let me switch out lenses here. We're back, and I think you can see this easier. So we flipped Ohm upside down. We'll pull the tail back, and you'll notice there is a hole there. Well, this piece hooks right in there. Now I can flip the owl right side up. We'll leave that off. And then you can see how that connects. And then this portion, this circle portion, it will only go, I think, one way. Doesn't seem to want to go that way. But it will go in this way. As far as I can tell, it doesn't seem to, well, maybe it will. It hooks on this way, and I'm not sure exactly what this is for, except for maybe to attach to a figure stand or a glider stand. But yeah, this is where that clear piece attaches to, so it can be attached to a figure stand, and we'll hook this wing back on. So it should look something like that. Next, I'm going to show you a few features up close that I think are pretty cool. She's got a really nice looking face. It's been printed very well. And then there is the logo here on the shirt. As I pointed out, mentioned earlier, be really careful. This does rub off really easy. I haven't tried it to see how well mine does, but there's been several other people who have told me it comes right off. So just be very gentle with this. Her shirt will come off. You could make it come off. We'll rotate her head around. And you can reach over here and like you can see how soft the rubber is. You can pull it down like over the shoulders if you really want to. And I don't know if it'll rip it, but you can see that she doesn't have tattoos under there, pretty much. Without getting too weird sounding, these are built in to the shirt. And so you're going to be a bit disappointed that if you take the shirt off, there's not really anything there. You can pull this down and you can see the back portion here that is not tattooed. So you can see how soft of rubber this is, which really does allow for a lot of great, we can see the articulation a lot better if we pull the shirt down there. Hoping I don't rip this, but you can see right in there the articulation for going back and forth. I'm not going to mess with this anymore because I really don't want to rip the shirt or stretch it out. But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing that you can do. Let's see if we can get her to stand here for a second. And then we will go down and you can see the tool belt next. Provided this will stay in focus for you. So yeah, she's got the tattoos through her midsection. She's got tattoos on her arms. And then here's the tool belt, if you want to see that a little bit closer. And it is pretty loose. It's not attached, so if you can figure out how to pop this figure apart, then you probably could remove it if you're wanting to. I'll adjust back up here a little bit, because I didn't actually show off any of the arm tattoos. We'll get pretty close here for those. And you can kind of glance here and see what you see. So it's just a lot of different designs. It is unfortunate that this was not designed with a neck that could move around like the other figures, but they did say on the Pulse Hasbro panel that the figures will all be designed slightly different depending on what works well or what seems to be working for the design of the figure. So everything could be a little bit different. Just notice down here they've got like mud around the base of her pants because she's been out working and doing some stuff. Last thing I'll show you is, I keep holding this too low, the Welder's Helmet does fit on pretty well. Just sits on. Doesn't snag anything. I don't know, it doesn't look like the nose would rub off. It might if you put it on and off too much. But yeah, that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. So overall, I was surprised when this set was first discovered on Amazon. This figure looks great and has some awesome accessories. It's a little disappointing she doesn't come with at least one weapon. She has the harvesting tool so she can whack things up, but there's no real actual weapon like all the other figures have. And extremely disappointing about the logo on the shirt, that it's not designed in such a way that it will stay on. It just seems to come right off pretty easily. And I'd have to say that this is probably the biggest fail from Hasbro so far in this line, in a line that so far has been really pretty amazing, really pretty good. And that somehow they failed on this one, that there was no checking or that they didn't discover that this happened. I'm just kind of surprised. Anyway, but yeah, overall, I think this is a great figure. Anyway, now it is your turn. What do you think about this figure? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. And before you go, check out my review of Sky and Ollie in the lower left corner of the screen. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and share it everywhere if you found it helpful and you like this type of content. It really helps the channel to grow. I will see you in the next video.